can ensue from assuming the position of Polaris if you're not under it directly 90.
Again, you've gone from there's no survey to no one can be directly under the Polaris. That's two different things. I don't know why you're pretending they're the same thing. They're very obviously not. You go from there's no evidence of any geodetic surveyor taking a measurement at the North Pole to the equator. How can there be?
No, there is no survey. Listen, you have listening problems. You have listening problems. There's no
I'm not.
Survey data that says a person of survey with survey tools have gone to the direct position of North Pole, looked at the zenith position straight up and seen Polaris and measured from that point.
Again, so what? Why do you think they need to do that?
So what they're doing is they're measuring to a light in the sky. Do you understand? And then they're using theoretical maths. They don't actually have an actual legit position. This is my claim.
Well, it's nonsense. It's just gibberish.
It's reality. It's fact. There is no geodesic measurement from the North Pole that measures directly from the zeroth position.
So what?
So how do you get the size of the Earth then?
You measure it at places that aren't the North Pole.
But you're not starting from any particular point. That is of equal value. You're not starting from a position of zero.
Obviously starting from a particular point.
How can you start from a position of zero if you're underneath the North Pole?
They take a star sighting for the first one.
Exactly. They take a star sighting. You just said it. So they take a star sighting. Can they measure? Listen. Can they measure the angle? Can they measure the angle distance from Polaris to another star from that position?
Look, they can use
and can they time it up so that star that's rotating?
Pointless. I'm not gonna keep being bombarded with questions and never allowed to respond to any of them. It's just simple.
Yeah. You are confusing the situation.
Help figure out the Southern Celestial Pole? Did y'all manage that?
No, we did. We haven't even. He's still on some other bollocks. I don't know.
Oh, he just entirely.
Ranty, are you here, Ranty?
He's trying to pretend that no one's ever been to the North Pole under Polaris or something underneath it. That nobody's ever been directly underneath it.
When you look at how they measured from the North Pole to the equator, there is no.
I would make if I got cornered on the Southern Celestial Pole too.
Right.
Yeah.
Just change the subject.
I didn't change the subject.
Yeah. Can I ask Randy something? Can I just get a minute, please, to ask? Rather than ask him something, just tell him something real quick, if you guys don't mind. Right. Yeah. So I heard about the test that you were proposing with, I think it was Ali B or something, where you guys are gonna have that wire that's stretched over like some length of distance. Right. So I just wanted to tell you about this thing called catenary. In physics and geometry, a catenary is a curve that an idealized hanging chain or cable assumes under its own weight.
Yeah.
It's supported only at its ends.
The sag.
Yeah. Yep. So you're not gonna be able to get rid of that sag, especially over a long distance. So what I would suggest, which is something that me and this other flat earther were talking about, is a different type of test where you're not going to have that issue. So let me just post this image real quick. And I promise this is going to be over real soon. I'm sorry for taking up whatever was going on.
It's all right.
All right. So,
yeah, it was so great. Oh, it was just so.
No, it was terrible. Yeah, it was crazy. Okay, so if you can see the picture that I just posted.
Have you got COVID, dude?
No, I'm indulging in some illegal activity right now.
Well, wear a mask while you're in this room.
So, where did you post it?
I posted it in the where did I post it?
It's in the general chat.
Yeah, it's in the general chat. Thanks, George, for that. Yeah, so basically, a straight line will remain straight regardless, but water, in the Glober's epistemology, like water is always perpendicular to gravity. So regardless of wherever you are on that ball, it's always going to be perpendicular to the force of gravity. Whereas a straight line that's drawn, like on a wall, for example, is always going to remain straight over distance. So if we have like a canal of still water over a really long distance, and we draw a line like on that inner edge of that canal, if that line remains parallel with the canal for like 2 miles, instead of dropping by, is it 18 inches? Because if it's 8 inches per mile squared, then no, it'll be 16 inches, my bad. So in 2 miles, it should have dropped by 16 inches. But if that line remains, yeah.
Please, Pope, you better lay off the weed. How do you propose to draw this straight line on the side of the canal? That's the whole issue here.
There are tools you can use to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Really?
What
Yeah,
tool?
let me post the link
No
for you
error.
actually.
No error.
Of course there's going to be
I
error.
have a question for you guys. So listen, I just suggested.
you?
We have drones, right? We have drones. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. When you're positioned 90-degree downward towards the ground, you're going to have, let's say we start at 2 feet on the ground. Depending on the size of the aperture and lens, you're going to have a field width, right? Based on the sensor, the focal length of the camera, you're going to have a field width, meaning the size of the boundary of the frame. You're going to have a field of view from frame to frame. We can calculate that width based on focal length, the distance, and the sensor size. So when they take high altitude drone photography, their camera is positioned zenith directly straight down to earth, frame to frame, horizontal pictures. Sometimes the elevation gets 50 miles of plane to plane horizontal imagery. Okay, when that's laid out on a graph and put into a 3D program, you can see that it's like laying a flat book and then having topography over top of it, and it's level from point to point because you're getting horizontal frame to frame pictures 10 miles long, 50 miles long, and from frame to frame on field of view, it's equal elevation. In other words, from one side of the frame to the other side of the frame, there's no curve, no dip, no drop. Okay, so this is something you can do over a river. You can do this over a lake because now we have drones that have automated systems thanks to DJI, which is Chinese technology. They're going to probably ban it soon because you can have it self-automated, make your own route, it'll take in the images and build the 3D platform for you. So there's technology we already have that proves that the Earth proves horizontal, meaning equal elevation from side to side. No dip,
How
no
does
drop.
the drone determine its elevation?
Okay, well,
Basically,
hold
the
on.
gyro in it is independent of anything of Earth. That's how it keeps it stabilized. That camera has a gimbal, which is independent of anything. So when it's at a 90 degree, you have a frame edge to edge. So in other words, it shoots the same horizontal picture as if I'm 1 foot off the ground, as if I'm 200 feet off the ground. From edge to edge, it's going to be a horizontal section of land. This is easily.
elevation.
This is
Yeah,
easily.
Elevation is based on mean sea level, barometric pressure, or the reference ellipsoid model.
You never
It's not
ever
based
mix
on-
these things
that-
up with
that
The
is
point
no good
is,
to you.
the point is, the frame of the camera.
precision that you need
The
to
point
Hold
of
on,
the
let him,
camera.
let him finish.
Here, this diagram space does
The
not
point of the
draw
camera in any high
straight
elevation
line.
photography
And
shows
even if it
horizontal
did, if
images.
you tried to move
George, can you let him finish, please?
would end up with having a cumulative error that would totally invalidate everything that you're trying to do. There isn't
No,
any
you
way
can prove. You can
Could you
prove
please
distance
repeat-
per mile.
with any sort of
Hold on.
precision
Could you please repeat that again, George? Because I can hear you. There's so many people talking.
Okay, well, one sec. Before you get to that, listen, because I've got to go to bed soon. So, the guy that said that there's tools to draw along the canal. I mean, I'm looking at this machine. So, rather than me buy a fishing line and try and stretch it, you want me to build this machine or hire it. And then how would I operate this along the canal? And where would its feet go?
Well, that isn't what I'm proposing. What I was-
move the feet periodically, and that is the problem. There isn't any way to match up the lines precisely once you move the feet. The accumulative error would
Yeah,
kill
well,
you.
that's what I was going to allude to,
Right.
because
I wasn't proposing that you build the apparatus on your own. I would suggest that maybe you hire professionals like architects to do that. But you're saying that the line can't be drawn over a long distance with some degree of accuracy. That isn't possible.
That is not possible.
How do they get?
At us.
How do they draw the dividing lines on roads over long distances?
Huh?
You know that the dividing line on a road, like the
You think
center.
that's accurate? You think that's at the sort of precision that you're looking for? All they do is they just run a paint machine down the center of the road. A driver. A driver.
I'm pretty
does-
sure that there's got to be a way.
Hold on.
There's got to be a way though to draw a straight line over a long distance. There has to be. How can they not be?
Why do we need it though? What we don't. There isn't really that much of a use for it, is there?
There's a use now. There's a use now.
I guess so. Oh God, we ran out of conversation.
Everything.
Moderator,
Every,
Moderator.
every,
moderator,
every scheme that you come up
moderator.
with, try to draw these straight lines is going to have associated errors with it. And the thing that you have to do is address the errors to see if the errors accumulated going from one end to the other is going to be within the error bounds that you need so it doesn't mask what you're trying to measure. For example, over 8 miles or over 1 mile, you want to make sure that you're not going to have an accumulated error that's going to approach 8 inches over that 1 mile. If it does, then it totally masks out what you're trying to measure.
What if you took?
What if you took? You're always faced with in instrumentation. There's no perfect instruments. There's always fixed errors, random errors, and you have to assess and understand these errors to make sure that the error budget, that you're well within the error budget that you need to attain a certain degree of precision.
Right. What if you took photographs, like snapshots of different sections of that canal, and traced a line in a computer program right above the surface of the water?
This is how Google Earth does it, dude. You can go to Google Earth. You can see any lake, any river, anything that's water-based. It will have the banks of the surroundings curved inward, as like a shoreline would be anyway, or an embankment of sorts. And you'll notice from point to point, equal elevation, horizontal.
Again, the problem that you have, all right, you're going to have what? Thousands of photographs, hundreds of photographs. How are you going to precisely match them up at the boundaries to guarantee that that straight line is indeed straight on that bank?
Right, exactly. And flat Earth data, are you making the same mistake that Quantum Eraser made? You're confusing elevation with distance from the center of the Earth, when
No, I'm not.
elevation is based
Two
on
equal
mean
points of-
sea level, barometric
Yeah,
pressure, or the
exactly.
reference ellipsoid model.
And 2 equal points of elevation is horizontal. That's a fact.
But the drone is using barometric pressure to determine its
So
elevation.
it's using the camera. I'm not talking about it where it's positioned. The camera is using its own gimbal, which is independent of any of that air pressure. The camera is just designed to keep straight. It has nothing to do with air pressure, nothing to do with elevation. This is where you guys don't have an argument.
How are you going to
I'm
hold
actually
the,
using.
How
I'm
are
actually
But
using.
you've got to get
I'm
the
actually-
drone to
listen,
fly.
perfectly?
But you've
Let
got to
me
get the
finish,
drone to
please.
fly to set
Let me
elevation.
finish, please. The
Have you got to
camera
get
has
the
the
drone to-
gimbal. The camera has its own gimbal. The gimbal's independent of any air pressure, my friend. Do you understand? It's a gimbal, so it has its
Drone is
own.
going to
It
move
has its
around
own.
because
It's its
of
own
air
way to be
currents,
level.
winds, and
So
other
if
things.
I have
Drone is
it
not
pointed
gonna
at the
be
ground, don't interrupt me,
precisely
George.
the same
Don't interrupt me,
elevation
bud.
point.
The point is, you don't
Here.
have an argument when it comes to the gimbal of the camera, because the gimbal is not
Doesn't
subjected
matter
to.
what the gimbal
Yes,
of the
it does.
camera can do
No,
the
if I
drone
have a
moves, you
perfect,
idiot.
if I have a perfect level camera, it will. If I take an image of anything, it will match it horizontal. It will be equal elevation from side to side, creating a horizontal image.
Okay, but the
This is
camera-
what.
all right,
This
you've
is
made
what
that
high
point.
altitude.
made the
This is
point.
what high altitude photography does. You can see frame to frame, perfect elevation with the gimbal of a camera. It's horizontal. There's no
But
dip,
you've
no
still
drop.
got-
Over 50 miles.
Okay,
This
mate.
is how topography is done.
Okay, you've made your point. The gimbal and the camera are attached to the drone. and you need to get the
The
drone.
gimbal is independent
Let
of
me
the drone.
finish.
In other words, if the
How
drone
is it
flying,
independent?
if the drone is flying
Not
crazy,
independent, you
if the
idiot.
drone is
gimbal
flying
mechanism
crazy,
is
Let me
called
if
just
the
finish.
drone is flying crazy,
Let me just
the
finish my
gimbal
sentence.
keeps it level. Do you
Let me just-
understand?
let
the
me just-
gimbal is independent of the
Okay,
drone.
okay.
Don't
Let me
have an
just finish
argument.
my sentence. Let me get the whole sentence out and then disagree with me. The gimbal is still attached to the drone. Now, the drone you've got to get the drone to fly at a set elevation for a certain distance. Just don't interrupt. Just let me get it out, okay?
The camera is independent of the motion
I
of the
know
drone.
you've said
That's
that.
why
Let
the
me.
images are still when you move the drone around,
Oh,
you numpty.
God.
Your
You've
argument is moot. The
Let-
camera is
Let me
independent of the
finish.
motion
Just
of the
let me
drone.
finish. Let me explain what I'm trying to say because you're not hearing it all and you're just interrupting me to say exactly the same
Your
thing. that you-
argument is moot, dude.
Okay, I know you think that, but you're just interrupting me to say it's independent of the drone, which you've already said 10 times, okay? So just let me say my thing and then you can say it another 10 times, okay? You've still got to get the drone to fly at a distance at a set elevation above the surface of the Earth. And it's determining that elevation using barometric pressure. So whatever the camera does, the drone is always going to fly at the same distance above the Earth, around the curve
So
of the Earth.
barometric pressure has nothing to do with curvature. Okay, bud? And if you do,
It
please
It
tell
does-
me
actually
how
does.
barometric.
It actually
It's-
does.
Yes, and it's how
Please tell me
it's
how
the
it
drone
relates to
determines
physical curvature.
it's
Thank
how
you.
the drone determines its elevation. So if the
No,
Earth
it doesn't. Tell
So-
me how.
So
It
if the
relates
Earth is
curvature.
curved, if the
Tell
Earth
me how it
was-
relates to curvature.
I'll tell you now, I am doing. If the Earth was curved and the drone is determining its elevation by figuring out a distance above the curved Earth that it needs to fly, then it will appear to, in your photos, you'll appear to have a straight line, but it will have flown around a curve, obviously.
No, it's not obvious, and stop with your nonsense. The drone's camera is independent on its own gimbal. It has
It's
nothing to do with
attached to the
barometric
drone.
pressure, has nothing to do with it. All it's doing is capturing an image.
Its
And the point-
elevation is
listen,
dependent
listen.
upon the drone.
Hey, you can talk 10 times after I'm done,
Its
bud.
elevation
You can
is
talk 10
dependent
times after
upon
mine.
the drone.
Just talking about a lens and
It's
camera
not
here, bud.
independent of the drone.
We're talking
It's
about a lens and a
absolutely
camera. We're
attached to
not
it.
talking about barometric
What's
pressure.
the point of the camera, though? Like, what does that
The
matter? to you?
camera, it keeps it from the field of
It's
view
to
that you
record a
get.
straight line.
The field of view that you get gives you, if it's a balanced camera, it's 90-degree pointing down. You get frame to frame equal elevation, which is horizontal. This is how all this topography
How
of
would you
Earth
know
is
it
taken with
wasn't
high
going around
drone
the curve of
satellites.
the Earth?
It has to be straight on to
How
get
would-
equal images. The only way to get it straight on is if you're on a flat plane. You're telling me that if I
You've
listen,
got
if I
you've
take
got
my
to
drone,
program
if I
the
take my
drone to fly at a set elevation. You've got to do that. And that so saying the camera is independent of the drone is bullshit.
has
The
nothing
camera-
to do with
the
barometric
camera-
pressure. Tell
the
me how the
camera-
camera is affected by horizontal based on barometric pressure. Tell me how it affects the curve.
Okay, I will, because it's attached to the drone and the drone determines its elevation using barometric pressure.
Okay. Please tell me how barometric pressure proves the Earth curves is 8 inches per mile squared.
It doesn't. I never said it
Exactly. So guess what? When you
did.
have a
I'm not
camera-
trying to pretend
when
that
you
it
have
would.
a camera, when
What are
you
you
have
talking
a camera,
about?
the drone is functioning on height and elevation. That's irrelevant of what the camera catches for frame to frame. All you have to do is have a level
No, it's not.
camera. All you have to do is have a level camera. You can do this yourself, bud. Take a wall, stand your camera up to a wall, move it back, make sure it's level, and you'll get frame to frame, field of view, horizontal, equal elevation from frame to frame.
But you need to
This
do that
is how-
over and over
this
again
is
over a
how-
distance. And that
but
the
this
height
is
over that
how-
distance is
this is
determined by
how-
barometric pressure.
It has nothing to do with Earth curve, like you just
I
said,
don't-
bud.
Yes, it
It
does.
has nothing to do with Earth curve.
What do you think this means? Like, why is this important? What does it show?
Well, they're trying
There's
to do.
no Earth curve. I'm going to be doing a demonstration here on my channel.
based
I'm going to
on
be
what?
taking. I'm going to be
What he's
taking.
going to do is
I'm
he's
going
going
to
to
be taking
draw
a
a
section of
line.
land, just like high altitude drones do. I'll be putting it into a 3D program, and I will show you over a distance of 3.5 miles. There's no 8 inches per mile squared.
You
None of
mean
it does
because
this.
so
I've
you're gonna
already-
fly it at a set altitude, say 20 feet.
No, I am going to
No?
take equal frame elevation, equal frame to frame horizontal elevation shots and stitch them together.
What does
Has
that even
nothing to
mean?
do with barometric pressure. Has nothing to do
Jim,
with
what does he
anything
mean by
except-
equal frame?
I
What
think
does
I
this mean?
thought. Well, I thought it was this. I thought they were going to draw a line along like the side of a canal that was a set distance above the canal, and then he was going to take a picture of that. I thought that that's what it was, but maybe I'm confused because it sounds like it's something slightly different now.
No,
It's
that's
very
what me and
convoluted.
Jeremy were working on. Ranty was working on something completely different from that.
Right. So I think the suggestion came up for that a way to see if this line was straight or curved would be to set a drone to fly at a set elevation so it could take, numerous pictures of this line, and then we could see if it was a line or a curve. But obviously the drone's going to appear, if it's determining its elevation using barometric pressure, it's going to move up and down and the camera with it according to the barometric pressure. And
the up and down elevation has nothing to do with the horizontal frame to frame, edge of frame, bro. Just because I go higher, just because I go
can't say
lower.
it again.
He's just not very sharp.
Yeah.
Listen, you're not very sharp.
And
the
he's
fact
had
is you're claiming at a
he's
20
had that
foot,
wobble
you're claiming
thing,
at a
you know what I
20-foot
mean?
elevation.
Says
Yeah.
it
I'm going
all,
to have
really.
errors based on barometric pressure 1 mile
Look at this
away,
guy
2
not-
mile away.
I mean,
You guys are
It
just
really
giving
is
me
It's
funny.
also
You're
yeah,
giving me
it's like,
so much data, it's not even
it-
funny, dude.
it's like can you even fly a drone like perfectly straight? Is this a
I
windless
don't
day?
think so.
Or do-
I don't think
Yeah.
That's
that
all
would
you
work.
got. That's all you got.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Also, I read about
You
how
have no argument.
how these
You have
drones
no
determine
argument. You have no
altitude.
argument, dude.
And a lot of them, they just take a
Navigator.
barometric reading as soon as they leave the surface, and then that's that, and everything else is just a differential, which
Right.
can
But the
produce
problem
negative
you
elevation
also
because
So
they
there
whip
is
around, they
frame
they
to
move left
frame
and right, and you can get
photography
elevations not even close to
over
right.
50 miles. It's
But
already
the
there.
thing
The
is,
data's there.
Navigator and Gem is barometric pressure changes throughout the atmosphere. Even if you are at the same elevation, you're no guarantee.
George,
that the barometric
3 miles
pressure
from
Yeah, that's
position.
true
At
too.
3 miles. 3 miles. away
Exactly,
from
George.
position
That's
A.
why I mentioned three methods of
You guys-
determining
you guys get-
elevation,
You
not
guys
just
don't get
one.
anything.
Yeah, we should probably listen to Babs really because it was his thing.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah,
don't get
because George said that barometric
whole
pressure
point.
changes. That's why I mentioned three methods of determining elevation. So the first one was barometric pressure. The other one was the reference ellipsoid model, and the
Barometric
other
pressure has
was
nothing to do with
mean sea
physical
level.
curvature. Barometric pressure has nothing to do with physical curvature. Nothing. Nada. Zero.
No one's claiming it does, but it has everything to
There
do
is no
about maintaining
documentation
the
that
same
says
elevation
that
with
barometric
the drone,
pressure
you
is
dumb shit.
associated to curvature.
All
None.
right, let me try
There's
this.
no documentation that says barometric pressure is related to curvature only.
All
in
right.
coming
Flat
from
Earth
Gem.
data, though.
claiming that.
How will you get the drone to fly in a straight line without using barometric pressure? How are you going to
So
do?
the drone has an automatic RPMs on the wheel. Once I have the RPM set at a certain height, it doesn't really matter what height. Height has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do
RPM,
with the
RPM.
camera. It has everything to do with the camera and the level of the camera. Okay, the drone could be off fucking tilted and going 50 miles an hour, but if that camera lens is level and straight, I will get an equal frame
How's it going to
horizontal
be
shot.
level and
Do
straight?
you know
if the
why? Do you know
drone
why I'll
moves
get an
10 feet up
I
and
know,
down?
level
it doesn't
shot?
make, doesn't
Do you
make
know
any
why
sense.
I'll get an equal level shot?
I guess
you know
it
why?
shouldn't be surprising.
Do you know
it's like
why
people
I'll
wanna
I'll get an equal
run a string out
horizontal?
over water and pretend.
Do you know why I'll get a shot? You guys know why I'll do it?
It's
No,
all
you guys
kind of
know
please do
why?
it, dude.
Do you
do
guys
these
know why I'll
thought
get it?
experiments,
Do you
but
know?
they don't
Do you guys know
understand
why I will get it? Do you know why I will get?
considerations of actually implementing it?
Do you know why I will get this shot? It's
Priest-
because your own fucking priest
Because you're
Neil
a
deGrasse
moron.
Tyson, your own priest Neil deGrasse Tyson says that it's flat at 128,000 feet. So I should be pretty damn easy to get some footage.
He's
driving
your
a drone
priest,
over
not
a 3.5
ours.
mile distance.
Oh, he wants to get left to right curvature. Is that what you're doing, Data?
See,
'Cause that's what
thank
you're
you guys.
referencing with
All
that,
you do, all you do is just show
Oh,
me
no, he's
exactly
not
what
doing that.
this is
Yeah.
about, and it's all it is about. It's just entertainment. That's right. You have nothing to bring to the conversation except tomfoolery and ignorance.
Flapping gums.
I tried
Yeah.
to explain it to you, mate, about 4 times, but you just won't get
Barometric
it.
pressure has nothing to do with curvature. You already answered that.
Yeah, but it does determine the height of the drone.
And curvature will make
Barometric
barometric
are
pressure.
not uniform over the surface of the Earth at any given altitude.
Yeah, and they'll also, if you move off Earth's surface in a straight line, the curvature of Earth will put you in lower and lower pressure. I didn't explain that very well, but
Oh, it's just such nonsense. You have air currents, you've got thermals, you've got barometric pressure.
Has nothing to
changes.
do
There
with
isn't
frame to
any
frame
way that you can
photography.
get a
Nothing.
drone to
Nothing to
fly
do
in
with
a
frame to frame
perfectly
photography.
Right.
Barometric pressure has nothing to do with your field of view when you're looking downward at Earth, dude.
you haven't
Nothing.
even accurately
are
told
morons.
us what it is you're wanting to. No, no,
Right.
we're not, man.
Yeah.
People like us run the world, Data. Like we got things figured out.
No, you
You're
don't.
just trying to catch up.
Dude, I embarrassed you hardcore on the show today to the point where you couldn't even put a sentence together.
This
That's
guy is-
because what you said was so convoluted and nonsensical.
No, dude. In fact, I've got many people documented. You're just one of them. The same fucking
Well, you got me
deadpan, brain dead
documented.
response.
What's
It's
my number?
almost
Do I have a
cute.
number?
It's almost cute, isn't it?
I got Gem Panda as well.
I
It's
feel
all
like
my, listen. When I have a documentary, you'll see it all there. It won't go away. You're on record. You're on record being a disingenuous human being.
It's
That
like
is-
when one of your kids is learning to talk and they just keep getting the words a bit wrong. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah,
cute in
exactly.
that sense, isn't it?
When I was
called being a
younger,
boss
I had
Guys
Marvel
is.
superhero like trading cards, and they held like power level 3 special abilities. Can see through walls. And I wonder, do we all have trading cards you're keeping track of, Data? Like with stats and stuff that go with
So
it?
you're a grown adult that does trading cards. Right on. Good for you.
That's not actually what I said, but I'm just asking.
You're a
because you
grown
said
adult
you're-
that's talking about trading cards. Good for you, bro.
Well, the first thing I said was that when I was a lot younger, but you missed that.
Awesome conversation. Talk about your trading cards. Right on. Right on, dude. You're
Tell
cool.
us,
Talk
man.
about
You
your
said
trading cards.
you're tracking us all or something? What do you say?
So basically, I have a list of questions I compiled over a few years. I've got a lot of people part of the documentary. You, sir, came on today and had the tenacity to say, well, if I grabbed a telescope, why can't I see like way over the other side of the Earth? Bro, you're not the first person to use that.
No,
You're not the
I didn't
last
actually say
person
that.
to
You
use
were
that.
asserting that I can't see
Bud, you're
the
on
edge of
record.
the Earth
You're on
as
record
I should
saying
if it were flat because
You're
of my
on
ability
record
to
saying
resolve it. So
You're
then I
on record
brought up,
saying it, bud.
Yeah.
You're on record saying it
using a
like
telescope.
it's a complete deception. It's a
Oh.
complete
It's
tomfoolery
Scott,
from your part.
when he
Yeah.
plays it back, it won't be quite what he thought it
It
was.
always is what I
Well,
thought, dude.
put it on my trading card, man. Make sure you quantify that in my statistics.
Is it called
What
Dingleberry?
size
Your trading card
would the
should be.
Earth be if you could see the edge? It would be tiny, wouldn't it?
Well, the difference in the edge and how much you would see is 0.04 degrees. If it were flat, you could see 0.04 more, but 0.04 degrees is 1/100th of your pinky's diameter at arm's length. It's nothing.
Now, once the edge of the flat Earth is discovered, I'm going to start a GoFundMe campaign to start a waste disposal program because I'll be able to make lots of money getting rid of all the toxic waste on the Earth. We just truck it over to the edge and dump it off.
There's a dome, George, in the way. You can't. There's no edge.
Oh shit! I forgot about that.
You may be able to transport it over to one of the other puddles and dump it over there, the cliffs, over the ice wall into the other puddle.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, see, you just ruined my business model, Jim.
No, I'm expanding it. Don't worry.
Okay.
Josie, man, why don't you talk?
Anyway, boys, I'm out of here, man. Thanks for the squabble there. I'll see you guys around.
Oh, how wonderful.
I hope
Around?
not.
You'll see us around, will you?
That's right, around the flat plane. That's correct, bro.
Okay.
Oh god.
Well, so I did get a couple.
If he wasn't so maddening, it would be amusing. But my god.
I think he's genuinely got he's
Really?
sociopathic in how he speaks with people. Or at people, rather.
Well, this is very characteristic of classic Dunning-Kruger. I mean, they don't understand their limitations, and they speak with such arrogant confidence. You know, they're just absolutely convinced. There's no room for
don't
error.
apply that to me. Most of what I say is correct, so don't apply that to me, George.
I'm talking about flat Earth data.
Right.
Sounded like projection to me.
I mean, he has this arrogant confidence that he couldn't possibly be wrong,
Rob, you
or
don't
he
think
couldn't be mistaken in any way.
you think Flat Earth Data doesn't match George's description?
No comment.
No. That Rob was saying, not you, Space Pope. I don't.
No, it's actually funny because I've actually met him in real life. I know him as a person, so it's pretty funny. No, I don't agree with George at all.
I mean, that is
All
someone speaking. I'm not hearing.
Yes,
See lights
Rob.
flashing.
Rob was.
Well, people, good night. Here is good morning. So, see you next time.
Later, dude.
Bye-bye.
No, it's dinner time. I'm out.
Well, Rob, come on.
SE, it's down to
Sorry,
you.
guys. I've been here all day.
All right. You seem like. Never mind.
We're winning here. Look, they're dropping like flies.
I'm still here.
You're not
I'm
a
still
flat
here.
earther, though, Space Pope.
Yeah, you don't count.
Well, no comment.
SE, SE. Get to work.
Dance
You
now.
should have two names there, Space. If you're going to speak as a flat earther, you should call yourself Space Poop, and then as a non-flat earther, Space Pope.
That's not very nice, George.
Wasn't meant to be.
How about those 11 vectors, guys?
Hey, Jose.
That's
The
not
main
Jose.
man.
It's SE.
Oh, SE.
That was me. That was me. Yes.
Your mic is weird.
Yeah, it's a bit busty.
Yeah, on my Bluetooth, the bad mic now.
Oh, okay.
Are you recording this, Jose?
I'm on my phone. That's why I got the bad mic. I'm just chilling, listening. No recording whatsoever.
Oh, thank God.
I'm CIA, so I'm always recording.
Yeah, I know you are.
That'd be so funny. if that was-
CIA pay better than NASA shell.
I'm not allowed to tell you.
Been
Yeah, when you
thinking
hear
of
my
that
mic,
raised, but
when you hear my mic solid, like a good sound, and I'm on a Discord outside my little stream, I will probably be recording. But right now, I was just listening to the show, and yeah, man, not interested, man. When I record on the phone, it got a screen capture recorder, but I can record already videos like from YouTube, but live on Discord, I have tried, and it doesn't work with the voice. Something's off.
I gotta stop coming on these. I keep telling myself I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Coming back.
No, keep coming on. This is good entertainment. We need this.
Nuts.
They one of them kicked me from 24/7 yesterday, and it was probably for the better.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I got banned from 24/7 too.
I had a foray into there as well, and kind of wished I hadn't really.
Did they get you in 24/7, Babs? Why? You were challenging them?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I wasn't really challenging them, but they didn't like what I was saying. Like I had my own personal beliefs, and they didn't like them, so they banned me.
Got it, yeah. Mm.
Well, they could like that.
Did you hear my interaction with Kiwi? I mean, I played the unedited on my show, but I put
Yeah, I did, yeah.
funny
Yeah,
on
I
my
saw that,
channel.
yeah.
I added a few more moderator, but it was pretty much like that. That was really strange, right? I mean, really strange.
No, he's got a hard on for bending people to his will, or trying to.
Right, definitely, hasn't he? I think
What's a short version of this moderator thing with Quantum Eraser? I kind of missed out on that.
I played the unedited one. It's over an hour. I played it the day before, yesterday, early on my main show in the beginning. But then in the afternoon, Then I clipped that 1 hour and I condensed it down. I just left a little bit of the argument and I added a few more. Moderator in between. I just clipped the time to say moderator and I added a few. And some of the derp and laughs. I just made it funnier than it was. But the original one's still funny. Really strange. He shouting for moderator all the time.
That was hard to listen to.
This video is posted on your channel?
Yeah, I uploaded this like 20 minutes. I uploaded last night.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look.
So don't you guys appreciate...
It was the last point, Babs. I mean, it was hard to listen. When I played the original one, dude, very disgusting. The insults from QE, the insults from, who was Wixit, Nathan Thompson, some Puerto Rican guy saying, also, you're a disgrace to Puerto Rico. I mean, they were disgusting. There was no need for none of that, bro. And I didn't swear not even once. I was respectful all the time, bro. 100%.
They're a horrible bunch of people.
Well, it's not like you guys are model human beings, you know? You guys aren't angels.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah, I agree. But in some senses, I go, and if I'm a little trolly, I'm trying to have a little fun and have a normal discussion, when somebody go off and start insulting me, you're a fucking retard, then I say, all right, then I think I'm going to have more fun, but I will behave, and I will respect while doing it. They lose their shit. When they want me to go crazy and start swearing at them, but because I don't do it, they go harder on me. And it's bad. It's really bad look for Flat Earth.
Yeah, and Babs, I have not heard any Glober state the equivalent of calling someone a senile man and wish that they would die of cancer, a lonely old man.
Well, yeah, that's terrible.
I have heard people say shit like that.
Exactly, yeah. Fight the Flat Earth. You could probably find footage of him saying stuff like that. And I personally have been attacked as well. I just don't speak. I don't speak publicly about it, but I have had death threats and people attack me. But I'm not. That stuff doesn't really bother me as much. But since we're speaking about those particular people and their style of debate, I was just gonna say, don't you appreciate that I don't do that? I don't take the whole fallacy approach. I actually try and understand.
I appreciate that, bro. Yep.
I try to understand. I try to understand your rhetoric.
I'm sorry. I say I stand corrected. Then I never watched what is that? Fight Flat Earth or something like that.
Yeah, he's pretty nasty. I don't watch him, but from what I've seen so far, like the stuff that he says is awful. It's nasty.
Yeah. I appreciate Babs when you go to Nathan. Okay, you say, all right, so you start talking and you start speaking your mind and making your points. And Nathan like, oh, so Babs is playing the Glober. All right, I'll play along. And he think you're playing, but you mean what you say. Because I hear you, it's legit argument.
Exactly, yeah.
But he thinks you're playing. And I'm so aggravated because everybody like, oh, yeah, he's just playing. I go like, bunch of pussies. They don't address an argument directly. It's weird.
Yeah, I thought what I noticed about that, Jose, as well was I think that although he's got a lot of support over there, I think it's waning somewhat. I think there are people in 24/7 that aren't happy with the way he acts, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's an hour show, so people can go into the panel sitting there and not talk, not even one word, the whole show, because he's going to start spewing the spiel, you know, and he will going to want to debate anybody, if anybody there to jump in. And by debate, I mean, he will start shouting and ridiculing, and everybody will give him money or whatever. I mean, it's his show. That's his style. That's it.
How does 24/7 treat their gold members? Because they're allowed to mute as well, aren't they?
I don't know.
Hear me out? I'm really sorry.
Kicked by one of their the server admins. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, my computer crashed halfway. I'm really sorry. But yeah, Jose, I don't go there fooling around. I actually go there asking questions that I've been asked by Globers that I can't answer. And I just want to see how they're going to react to it. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting what's happened so far based on that. But yeah, carry on.
Well, all I was alluding to is that maybe eventually they'll just give QE mods.
No, what they did is they created this little, arena channel for anybody, and they assigned mod roles to certain people that I think they thought would be semi-reasonable. And there's a couple of them. QE's not one of them, so they didn't give him a mod role. And the few times I was in there, it seemed to, the few of them cared, right? Like I got yelled down by like 5 or 6 of them. I was like, all right, you guys have your fun, I'll leave. And I got messages from 3 of their mods actually that said, hey, that basically apologizing that, that's not how they want things to be run. But like the QE's not one of them, but they're still server admins for the whole server. And I know that they all have their own little secret channels, and one of them popped in text chat, and I said to like a couple things, and was immediately kicked. But this is by one guy that has always disliked me. So within the channel, sorry, go ahead.
Who is that?
I think it was Me More Vet or
Right.
Miss Tolas. Yeah, he's like a slightly more articulate pillbox.
Yeah, I know the one. I think that Jedi guy, he just loves QE, doesn't he? Lets him run riot. But on Jose's thing, there was this Scottish guy at the beginning. I don't know his name, but he was calling QE out, which I thought was quite good.
There's definitely some conflict between, and even one of the mods thought that one of the other mods was the one muting me and apologized for it, and basically said that there's some heads butting at that level. But the other mod was the one that I think what's the word? I can't talk tonight. Befriended, for lack of better terms.
Right.
I kind of understand the situation that we're dealing with here. Even though I am a Globe skeptic, I know that the reason that some of these people don't want to do live or public debates with you guys is because they have a following. And if their following sees them losing or not able to defend their beliefs, they're going to lose trust and faith in them. And I think they kind of realize that, and they don't want that to happen. This is all hypothetical. I don't want to say that I know everything, but I just, from my point of view, that seems to be what's taking place right now.
I want to have a quick follow-up. Like when I record myself in little Discord or whatever, having an interaction, it's not a debate because I'm not a debater for shit. I lose all the points. I just try to make a point, and they try to get me with these strategies of debate, and they try to like, no, you commit to it or whatever bullshit goes on. I say I know I lose the points, but I really want to present the behavior on how in different platforms people behave and treat each other, and maybe it's not necessarily what people is interested in. Some people want to look at the topic and who wins, who loses. Not me. I want to look at where can you have discussions and with who. And it's very hard when you go alone to a place when there's no moderation and somebody thinks he's bigger than everybody else. And no, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to call him all the names and bad words and shit like that. I like to present that face of the coin. Even if I lose all the points I have, like with Quantum Relation, this natural, supernatural, I knew I was wrong. I was kind of pushing through it, but he was getting angrier and angrier. And I said, like, dude, you can just stop it right there. You don't have to let other people or whatever. You don't have to behave that way because I insist, even being wrong, And a different approach could be taken instead of that.
Well, the thing is that there are not that many. Actually, there are no neutral platforms. So, like, if I go on your show, for example, I'm not saying that this is you that makes this happen, but your show is going to be majority globe earthers. So if a flat earther is on that show, they're probably not going to feel comfortable having to go against like a lot of like globers. And it's the same with Ranty's show. Like globers might not feel comfortable going to a pro flat earth show where they have to go against like a whole panel of flat earthers. So there's no there are no neutral platforms where we can just have discussions and it's not like a hostile environment for people, because it's
Yeah,
all
but
about being comfortable
when
and
you
being
come
able to have
across
a discussion.
when you come across where flat Earth data or right hands are on a flat Earth platform like Ranty, you know the Glover is not going to get a word out, and it's not going to be fair unless Ranty actually moderates. That really doesn't happen on my show. I don't let somebody just taking over and just keep going and going. I have to stop them. Somehow I'm more fair on allowing people to speak at least kind of even, and somebody not taking advantage of speaking for 10 minutes and the other person say yes or no only, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Flat Earth Data, he'll rant on for 4 minutes, and then you finally get him to shut up. You get half a sentence out, and then he's off again. You know what I mean? And he does another 2 minutes. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my, and then you get another 3 or 4 words out, and off he goes again.
I don't know. The little bit I was in there, I will absolutely eat up wading into the room of 30 idiots and dealing with them as needed.
Well, I mean, what's the point if you're just gonna get overtalked and no one is gonna hear what you're gonna say? Like, what is the point of that? Don't you just want to have a discussion where you actually come to some type of resolution, not just a shit show where everyone's just yelling at each other? Like, what do you get out of that?
It is hard to humble yourself, man, and to put yourself on a level. Like, don't go with the mentality that I need to win points, I need to have the last word, I need to be right, and I need to articulate it very well for everybody to see me and I'm raising my hand. You gotta go humble and really try to understand the argument presented to you, and the person that presents the argument needs to be ready to be humble and listen to the answer. If any answer, if you don't get an answer, you say, all right, I guess I'm right, I'm win. But being humble, I think, is the key, and 99% of people, they are not humble. They're to let their guard down.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always listen to what people tell me. Like, I know that people usually get upset when you don't listen. That's the reason that most people are getting upset in this discussion. I listen and I consider everything that people tell me.
It's not an issue of not listening. A lot of times you don't get a chance to hear most of the time you don't get a chance to hear the whole thought. But, regarding this thing, what do you get out of it is the problem that you have are guys like Chemo and Page and others is you might be able to get through them one day, and then the next day they just reset themselves and you're back to square one.
Yeah, I did notice that, and that is a big problem. But I mean, if you know that those people are prone to doing that, why do you even engage with them in the first place?
Exactly.
Others do.
There's no point in any of it. It's all just something to do.
Amusement, entertainment. That's about it.
Right. I mean, just like I don't engage the trolls that are just gonna troll me. I only engage people that are actually going to have a proper discussion with me.
There's a challenging element to it, isn't there? There's a sort of a puzzle solving element to it sometimes when you're confronted with something and you've got to figure out.
I won't say it's been a total waste of time. Over the years, we've had a lot of good questions posed to us that make you think. It is kind of a puzzle and a challenge to figure out where the fallacy is in the statement that's been made, and therein it lies the challenge: is how do I apply physics to answer this particular question? And I think for a lot of us, it has helped hone our own understanding of physics and many other aspects regarding the atmosphere that we probably never would have engaged in if it wasn't for the flat earthers.
Right. And you guys have helped us a lot as well. Like a lot of your questions have made us reconsider a lot of the statements that we made in the past. For example, like with the AE map, for example, that is not a flat Earth map. That is a globe Earth projection. And the people that are still sort of pushing that as a flat Earth model, after being shown all the contradictions and all all the different predictions that just don't work on that model and still continue to push that. I just wonder, why that happens. Is it because they have an agenda, like they're making money out of doing this, or is it because they just haven't interacted with you guys and they're not considering some of the points that you're making?
A little bit all of the above. There are definitely those like Oakley and Quantum Eraser and a few others that.
Well, I mean, I'm not even referring to Oakley. I'm talking about people like David Weiss.
There's those that are monetized and they're deriving income by pushing this narrative, whether they believe it or not. There's also others like you take Jaron Campanella. He just doesn't listen. I doubt that he's ever really critically looked at some of these things, and he just continues pushing the AE map and with a side condition of the Pac-Man son, I guess. So a lot of them just don't look at anything that's been presented. I mean, on the show today, that was rather evident. I doubt that Paige ever looks at anything that's really been presented. She just likes repeating her narrative over and over without challenging it critically on her own.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that, but I'm not going to be critical of Paige. But with Jaron, I don't understand why he does that. I also don't understand why David Weiss does that. I wish I could still engage these people. I've been in the community for a really long time, and I used to talk to these guys like a lot in the past. And if I could talk to them now, I'd just tell them, everything that I've learned so far, that, some of this stuff that they're talking about just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the David Weiss thing, it's the same reason he still pushes the idea that the sun shrinks using unfiltered footage, right? It's just dishonest. The other takeaway here is that particular projection, like the important piece is that it's a flat surface. So arguments against the AE map are arguments against a flat Earth as a whole.
Can a flat surface not have elevations on it?
I don't understand why.
Well, yeah, you can. You can have mountains. I mean, what you're talking about is mountains, hills, valleys, and that mounted on a mean flat surface. You take a flat surface, say, take a flat piece of sheet metal, you could bang it with a hammer to put a divot in to represent, a valley. You could pound it from underneath up to represent a mountain, but overall, the mean surface would be flat, not curved.
Right, but like when you take things like the Polaris observations, for example, into consideration, I understand what you guys mean when you say that when you observe Polaris, the angle is always equal to your latitude, and that agrees with a globe Earth. But then when you tried to consider it on a flat Earth model, you only used one height for Polaris. And I do agree that only two angles would match given a flat surface. But with elevations and perspective, does that make a difference, really?
Not enough. It would depend on, how high up you put Polaris, but at any height, the angles will never match. Rather than using latitude, I heard Paige the other day objecting to this. Well, that's a globe Earth thing, and she doesn't understand that this net, this grid that you lay on top of the surface doesn't matter if it's on a curve or a saddle surface or a flat surface, but you could get away from that and just say measure the distance from the projection of Polaris down onto the Earth at the North Pole, measure, mileage going in a southerly direction from the North Pole rather than talk about latitude. And at any given distance in miles from the North Pole, when you measure up to Polaris from the horizontal, it will start deviating the more south you go from what the actual, if you calculate it, based on distance, you just use trigonometry. It's the distance up to Polaris from the North Pole versus the distance divided by the distance from the North Pole to your observation point. That's the tangent of the angle. So if you have a set height and you divide by the distance and you take the arctangent of that angle may coincide with one position, but it will fail to coincide with the actual measurement that you make with respect to the horizontal at any other position. Or if you could look at it conversely, in order to get it to agree with what's being measured, you find that the Polaris, or even the sun, when you do this sort of thing during the equinox, has to be simultaneously at many different elevations, which it can't be.
Right, but in regards to Polaris, given elevation on a flat surface and considering different heights, not just one height, would you say that it's impossible for the angles for Polaris to match the latitudes on a flat surface?
It is impossible. Yeah. If you
Regardless,
place,
but you've only considered one height, though. You haven't considered different heights.
Consider putting Polaris at, say, 3,000 miles. The highest mountain that you could be on is Mount Everest at a little over 5 miles. Well, 5 miles with respect to 3,000 miles isn't going to affect the angle very much.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, how can you be sure if you haven't considered different heights? You've only taken one height. How can you be sure that the angles wouldn't match latitudes at different heights?
Well, it's only going to be worse with the higher up you go. There isn't going to be any one golden height in which they will match given different elevations on the surface of the earth. That's absolutely impossible. At any height, you're going to have these discrepancies. There isn't any golden height versus changes in elevation with latitude that's going to coincide with what you actually measure. It's just not going to happen.
Right. I want to say that I would concede to that, but how have you arrived at that conclusion, though, that no other height would work?
Well, I could go through the mathematics with you, but I just know, with working with trigonometry my whole life and geometry, I can just see it in my head that it's never going to work. I just know it's not going to work. I can't see how there is any way to manipulate the equations to make that happen. It's just from my own mathematical experience that I realize that that's the case. Now, I could sit down and write it all out for you and derive the equations to show you that, but I myself don't have to do that because I've worked with the math my whole career for decades, that I can just see that it's not going to work. I know you, I don't expect you to take my word for it, but I can assure you that no matter what kind of a mathematical footing you put it on, you're never going to make it work.
Well, I'm not saying that you're lying to me. I genuinely think that you are being honest with me. But what about refraction? Even with refraction, that's impossible, right?
Yeah, you're going to have to have at every position just the right amount of refraction. What's the chances of having the proper amount of refraction at every point along a line of longitude going away from the North Pole? What are the chances that at 100 different points you're going to have just the right amount of refraction?
Yeah, that doesn't seem very likely. But yeah, on that note, I got to drop real quick. I think I'm getting a knock on my door. But yeah, it was nice talking to you guys. We will talk again soon.
Bab, all you have to do is think about multiple observation points. What are the chances of having the right conditions at multiple points simultaneously? That's just
it's highly unlikely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And even if it did work one day, just wait for another day. You know, what are the chances day after day you're going to have exactly the right conditions?
Right. You run into that problem as well because you have to deal with the atmosphere as well on the globe model.
True. But the thing is that the deviations on the globe due to refraction day after day, you may have an angle that's slightly greater. Another day might be slightly less, but once you average them, you find that the mean comes out at the right angle.
Right. Anyway, I got to go, George. I will talk to you again later.